discussion DBC Hangout, which for people watching this, I'm assuming you know what DBC is, but it's short for Dev Bootcamp, and it's a development, like modern day trade school for coding that's 9 weeks remote and then 9 weeks on campus. And so that's the idea. Like within 6 months, you're now working in the industry. So my name's Gabriel Osborne, and I will be attending the Chicago campus. And how about you two introduce yourselves real quick?
I'm Regina Deangelis. I'll be attending the Austin campus.
I'm Augusto Azevedo, and I'm going to the San Francisco campus.
Right on. So yeah, this actually worked out. We managed to get people on different campuses, which I'd been hoping for, but I wasn't sure we'd be able to do that. And I think real quick, it might help everyone. We just sort of talk about our backgrounds. I'll go first, which I'm coming from a background as a professional musician, which can mean a lot of things. I was a jazz performance major in college on trombone. And about a year after getting out of school, I moved to New York and I did my first tour on the road with a big band. It was really awesome. And it's not about how great, I'm not saying I was super great. The band was killer. I got to play the Montreal Jazz Festival, and I was just like this kid that everybody liked. And they had called me when they needed a sub last minute. So I was riding on everyone else's coattails, but I got to tour for a couple of years. After that, I was freelancing, and I also taught music some privately. In the last few years, I was working on cruise ships, saving up to do DBC. I knew I wanted to do it. Yeah. So how about you, Regina? You're a teacher, right?
Yeah, I'm a high school English teacher right now. So I teach sophomore English as well as journalism and yearbook at a high school in Texas. That's
awesome. And
yeah.
What got you into teaching initially?
I got an English major when I was in college, and it just seemed like the natural first job after having an English degree.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah.
And what about you, Augusto? Like, I know you're a really good artist from this one webpage you uploaded, but we have not paired together. I know nothing about your background.
So I'm not an artist like professionally. That's just some drawings that I like to do every once in a while. So I graduated as an environmental engineer back in Brazil. And in Brazil, I worked at a water treatment plant. Mm-hmm. And then 1.5 years, I moved here to San Francisco to be with my husband. And here I had some visa issues, like not issues, but it takes a while until you can legally work and study. So I stay like 1 year without doing anything pretty much.
Oh, wow.
Then, yeah, that's a long time. It was like really boring. And then I was trying to find something in my area. It was difficult since I graduated somewhere else. And in the environmental field, it's very specific, like ecosystems from each region varies a lot, legislation. So it was hard for me to get a job in my area. So I kind of decided, well, I'm here in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley. I might as well just decide to change areas. And my husband works in tech already. He made me fall in love with it. So I started researching a few, code academies, and I decided to do it. And so far, no regrets.
So actually, this was something I was hoping we'd talk about, and this is a really good lead-in. Why did you choose specifically DBC versus all the other kind of code schools that have come up?
So I like how DBC had this phase 0 thing, where there's 9 weeks where you study from home and kind of get to know the environment as like first. Many people don't have a background in coding, and it's really nice to get the chance to get to know what you're going to be doing as a professional. And that was something that I find really cool. And some other courses, they had like they would expect you to have some background already. and then the admission was harder to pass. If like you would have to have some knowledge, and I don't. I mean, I studied C back in college, but that's been 10 years almost, and it was like very briefly C language. It wouldn't help me at all. So that was something that was really nice. The price was accessible, and it's in San Francisco where I live, so why not?
That's true. Yeah, that's I've noticed most people, it seems like they're doing DBC, actually live in the cities they need to be to do that, which is not true for me, but that's fine. I like Chicago. Originally, I was going to go to New York was my plan because that's like the jazz mecca, and I like living there. But I made a ton of friends in Chicago when I was working on Chips, who were working for the Second City Theater. And I was like, yeah, you know, I really like Chicago a lot. I think that'd be a great spot to move. Regina, I am curious, like, why did you decide to do a boot camp, or why did you choose this?
Well, I attended a couple like free meetups where I was just dabbling in HTML and CSS, and kind of got to the point where I was like, I think I can do this, and I'm enjoying it. And I, at the same time, like, knew that teaching was not something that I wanted to do long term. And so I started researching more and more, and thought that going through like a code academy or a boot camp would be a pretty accessible way to kind of transfer careers. And same thing, I liked DevBootcamp because of like the start place, that I could start out being like pretty novice and just not knowing a whole bunch. And that was important for like the timeline of everything for me, so.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's funny. Part of what attracted me to DBC, part of it is like, yeah, I have zero background in coding. Like, I was doing some business freelance work for a while, and I'd started doing some like online courses. But for me personally, without having a clear target to aim at, I was having a really hard time just like learning on my own. Like, I understood the things I would do, but it was never working towards anything. And
yeah,
I also really liked, me personally, I really liked the engineering empathy portion of the program, which coming out of the arts, maybe I'm more used to people being, well, there's a lot of dysfunctional people in the arts, but most people are also very in touch with their feelings. Like, and so I wanted a more social climate for coding. Like, I didn't want to, and like that always turned me off from coding growing up too. Like the idea that you're just this person that works alone in a basement, and maybe you need to fix the light bulb or something, and there's like dripping water. Like, that's just my vision. Like I don't want to be around people at all. Whereas the modern day of coding, I feel like, is much more social and interactive, much more team based. We'll find out. We'll find out as this whole experience progresses. But and actually, I didn't write this thing for us to talk about, but how have you guys liked the pairing part of Phase 0? Which I'll say real quick to the audience. So a huge part, Phase 0 is before we get to campus. It's 9 weeks long, but every week we have to do 2 or 3 pairing sessions where you actually complete assignments with your classmates using Google Hangouts usually, or Screen Hero. So how's that experience been for you guys overall?
I've found the pairing to be really helpful. I always come out of a pairing session like learning something new, and or just like solidifying my understanding in a concept. So that's been really helpful. And the Austin group here is pretty social. So like we have a Slack channel for Austin, and we've been like pairing up in person, which I actually prefer. But yeah, I mean, it's been fun to do it over Google Hangouts too, but it's been nice to be able to meet up with people in person and kind of like go through things together and study together as well.
Yeah, and I will say this, and keep in mind, I'm going to Chicago, so I have no reason to say this other than it being true. I kept like pairing with people in the Central Time Zone, hoping to pair with people going to the Chicago campus, and I keep ending up with people that are going to Austin, and everyone is freaking great. It's going to the Austin campus.
Everyone's awesome. Yeah.
Like
so
everyone's
far.
like really friendly. I feel like a lot of people in the Austin campus have much more, I don't know how to phrase it, like social backgrounds. Like you're working as a teacher. I was working with Crystal last week.
Oh yeah.
She's working as a social worker.
I'm at a coffee shop with her right now.
Oh, no kidding. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man. Hopefully she'll come on here at some point.
Yeah.
And what about you, Augusto? How's pairing gone? We haven't paired together, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I have paired with either of you, right?
Oh,
So far.
not
So
yet.
that's something cool that I wanted to do, like pair with someone from here. But so far it's been Google Hangouts or Screen Hero.
Mhm.
And same as Regina said, like I always feel like that I learned something new when I'm pairing. Either it's like a new trick, like a new shortcut, keyboard shortcut, or some new tool that will help me, or the feedback itself. Like sometimes I'm so nervous, at least at first I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to code. What if my pair is like knows everything already, and then I'm gonna look like I'm falling behind. But in the end, we're pretty much on the same page, and it all goes really well. Like so far, every pairing section's been nice, and I really enjoyed that from DBC, like how they make you work in group a lot, and how coding is not something that you should do isolated from the world. So that's nice. I like it.
Yeah, like I know when initially I found out we had to do all this pairing, I was kind of not. It's not that I didn't want to do it, but I also was like, oh man, I'm on a roll these first couple of weeks just working by myself. But even though like pairing kind of slows things down sometimes, I do feel like you do learn a lot more. Especially, it's funny, even either you're learning something from the other person, like a lot of times, I guess there's more for the viewers. There could be like 10 ways to do the same thing, especially with CSS specifically. And when you pair with other people, each of you have your own habits of how you learn to do it. But then suddenly you'll see these totally different paths to do the same thing. But even if the other person's learning from you about how to do stuff, if you're able to break it down and explain what you're doing, you're going to understand it better than if you're just like doing it on your own intuitively, or however you want to phrase it. So actually, it's been one of my favorite parts of Phase Zero has been the pairing. I'd say for me personally. And also, it gets kind of, I don't know about you guys, it gets kind of lonely. Like just chugging away at the work all week. And it gets stressful. Yeah, so let's talk about the really nice part of Phase Zero. Let's talk about weeks 1 to 3, which was before Ruby started up. And for the viewer, this was like our first week. We learned to interact with our terminals using Git. We also learned to use the website Github. And then the following 2 weeks was HTML and CSS. It's like building basic web pages, I guess you could say. But like, how was the pacing for you guys with that? Like, how did it feel in terms of the work? And
Sorry, it's really loud. I'm outside right now.
yeah, I know, perfect.
Yeah, so the first 3 weeks were great, and I'd say, I mean, I'm working full time right now, so you know, I was putting in maybe like 20 hours a week or so, but there was nothing that you know, took me too long to figure out. And I noticed that the first 3 weeks I was like not working at all on Sunday. Like I wasn't doing DevBootcamp stuff. I wasn't doing work stuff. So it was kind of like a really nice, happy place for the first 3 weeks.
For sure. Yeah. What about you, Augusto? How was weeks 1 to 3?
It was, well, now I say that it was easy. At the time, I thought it was challenging, but it was definitely easier than Ruby. And Well, I would say that CSS was probably where I spent most time because I would lose track of time. I would just start experimenting with the different possibilities, like you said, because there's just so many ways to do stuff, and you can see it like it's visual. You can see what it did happening live, and then I would just like play around with the personal website, and oh, okay, now I want to do that. Now I want to do this, and I have spent like 30 hours that week, but just, you know, because I didn't manage my time too well, I guess. So that was fun, and it was not too hard. So
yeah, I felt like CSS was the beginning of the rabbit hole for me when suddenly I had the like time box stuff. I'm like, I could spend an hour on this, or do I want to just get the assignment done? And I felt very conflicted since we've hit that point between like trying to get through, just like focusing on getting the tasks done. But I'm like, no, but this is how you learn, is by reading about all this useless minutia.
yeah.
Not useless, but
Yeah.
But like you don't need the fanciest tool in the shed to get the job done necessarily. And it's I think both of you kind of brought this up. I noticed like I had the flu the first 2 weeks, like week 1 and week 2, and I was able to get all the work done and do wedding stuff for my friend on both of those weekends. Like I get all my work done the first 4 days of the week, and then I do my reviews on Sunday. And which I'm not working right now, so I'm at a very different work pace than you guys. I'm just trying to move to Chicago, but yeah, since like Ruby's hit, it's just gotten worse and worse. Which I guess kind of leads us to weeks 4 to 6. I'd originally hoped to do 2 broadcasts, like one after week 3, but I didn't get off the ground till now. But so okay, so basically since Ruby has started, how's the program been? How's life? Are you guys getting afternoons off in the week at all, or like is it just slammed from day one? Either one of you.
It's been kind of busy. I mean, that might be an understatement. So
Yeah.
I found myself like, you know, Googling things on my lunch break or when I have a spare minute throughout the day, and then going home at night as fast as I can, and getting started on work, and then generally spending about probably 3 to 4 hours every night. And that varies. Like, you know, this week I had an obligation, like a work obligation on Thursday night, so I didn't even look at anything Thursday. So that just means that I'm, you know, catching up on it this weekend. And weekends are basically, for the last 2 weeks, they've been just all working pretty much. So from like morning till evening, trying to get as much done as I can. And I've so far completed everything and gotten good feedback. So, I mean, it's a lot of work, but that's, you know, that's where I'm at, so.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, when we paired, that's back during CSS, but, like, I felt like you were doing great with the program, like.
I think we may have paired the first week of Ruby. I vaguely remember IRB, but I don't know. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I guess that's. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So that was exciting new world, and just so the viewers know, like the week that Ruby started, we all, or at least I got an email. I think we all did. That was saying it's like, hey, just a heads up, students, you're starting Ruby this week, and this is when most people start really struggling with the program. Yeah. So they told us this, like it wasn't totally unexpected.
Yeah, I remember that email. It scared me a little bit.
But it's the fucking truth.
I know.
I was smug the first 2 weeks of Ruby. I'm like, yeah, I'm having to work at this, but you know, and I think this week was the first time I sat down and I was just like, I don't understand it, or it was like the solo challenge that you're working on today, Regina. I was doing it last night and I was just dying. I was like,
I'm
can't.
still working on it. Is it too hard?
Bang my head on
That
something.
the assessment was easier for me than the frickin' solo challenge.
Oh my God.
Oh, and okay, so pro tip to the audience, don't do this. Last night, I had planned on doing the assessment like at like normal time, like 7 p.m. or something. And instead, because I'm back home visiting family and I haven't been home for like over a year, I wound up splitting a beer with my mom, like a Belgian beer, because that's something we usually do when I'm home. And afterward, we watched like a couple episodes of The West Wing. And so then it was like 11 p.m. I was looking at my computer. I knew I wasn't tired enough to fall asleep. And I was like, I could do this assessment right now. And there's like the voice of me. I'm like, this is a terrible idea. And I did it. Like, say this for Gabriel Osborne. Say that he's vain. Because like in my heart, I believed I couldn't fail. Like I was like, even like I could be like hungover, angry, like with no coffee, and I would pass an assessment. Like I believe that on an internal level, but it would have been a lot better if I'd done it well rested. Like there's a spot I got stuck on that took me like 30 minutes to figure out. So I did it. And the audience is wondering, yes, I passed the assessment, or I think I did, and knocked everything out. But it was. But anyway, yeah, Augusto, how's Ruby been?
So I think the main difference is that now I don't have weekends anymore. Just like Regina said, it's all working. And before I had weekends. So now I'm just trying to finish everything up. Like I haven't finished the solo challenge yet. So that's what I'm doing today.
Yeah. But
it's interesting. It's challenging, but it's the kind of thing that when I finish, any assignment, I'm like, I feel like I just solved a really difficult puzzle and it feels so rewarding, you know? And so like it's the hardest part, but it's also, I don't know, the part that I feel like this accomplishment when I finish something, and that's really cool. So I like it. I'm enjoying this Ruby thing. It's been very challenging, but I think it's really fun too.
Yeah, for sure. Like there's been multiple projects now where like I'm struggling with a puzzle, and like when I finally do it, I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's
I'm like,
amazing.
I did it. And and I've actually found, I'm curious about you guys. So like when you get stuck, I have found that like basically if I'm stuck on a problem for 15 or 20 minutes, the best thing I can do is step away from the computer and either like get a drink or go for a walk or eat or like something. Like, do you guys have any strategies for when you start struggling in the curriculum and you're just at the point of beating your head into a desk? Presuming you've had that experience. I've had that multiple times since we started.
Well, usually I go and make some coffee. And if that doesn't help, I'll go for a walk.
There you go. Yeah, what about you, Regina? Or are you just forced to like power through?
I tend to just like power through and like Google Stack Overflow coffee repeat basically. So that's kind of my strategy. I don't like getting up if I'm not finished with something. If that, you know, like I'm like, I need to at least have one part of it working, and then I can like maybe take a quick break or something like that. But
yeah, I usually take breaks like either between assignments or between releases. Oh,
yeah.
The viewers aren't going to know this yet. The way the curriculum is set up is that every week, among other tasks, you have like a series of challenges you have to do, and so like each assignment is called a challenge. And then inside the challenge, there's releases, which you could think of as like steps within the challenge you have to complete. So a challenge might have 3 releases you have to complete. So they're like kind of logical break points if you just need to step away for a second or like watch cat videos on YouTube or I don't know, however you choose to unplug. So how do you guys feel coming into the big week 7 assessment? Which, again, for the audience, the week 7 assessment is when they evaluate, I think, in essence, it's not the only factor, but it's the biggest factor of whether or not we're ready to go attend school on campus as scheduled. How are you guys feeling? Like, I'm feeling the pressure. I don't know about you guys.
I'm feeling the pressure.
definitely.
Feeling the pressure. Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you'll be ready? Is that something you're nervous about at all, or?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I
I don't know either. I mean, I've kind of tried to like think to myself, okay, all week next week will be, you know, upping my hours of studying, and I'm gonna try to have a game plan for how I'm gonna review certain concepts that we've learned, and then just stick to that schedule. But I've also thought like, okay, what's my move if I, you know, can I afford to be pushed back a couple weeks?
Oh,
Or
well, especially, okay, the stakes are like double for the
oh
we're
my
the
God.
Fiery Skippers cohort. We got an email about 2 weeks ago, and they're like, "Hey, so listen, there's not a cohort after you guys. Like,
Yeah.
so the next cohort is 6 weeks later, not 3 weeks later.
Right.
So
Yeah.
usually, if you repeat something, you reset 3 weeks. It's cool, gives you more time to learn everything. Yeah, 6 weeks. I don't know if I can push my graduation 6 weeks, like with my savings and all that. Like, because I want to have a few months look for a job. Like, I want to have at least 3 months to the
Me
hug.
too.
Yeah, me too.
And I will say this about the assessment is that it surprised me, like, because we've had a few assessments at this point, and they actually go a lot smoother than I expect them to. Like I know I talked about how like last night I was kind of took me like 30 minutes to solve one problem, but other than that one thing, everything, all pretty much the whole assessment, like I was like, oh, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. Even if I was looking up the specifics of how to do it, like I kind of knew in a general sense how to do it. And so, like, have the assessments been like jarring to you guys, or have they seemed like a logical pace to how we've been studying this curriculum?
So this week, I felt that it's been much easier than last week, for instance. So I guess that means that I'm getting used to like kind of having the feeling maybe I won't know the command that I have to use, but I know that I have to use something that I already used before. Then I can always just look it up in the Ruby documentation. So it's been, I think I'm getting like used to this language. So I'm at that point that I can't do everything like just by heart yet, but I know that I know.
Yeah.
So it's been easier, I think.
For sure. What about you, Regina?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like this week has gone, just overall has gone much more smoothly than last week. I think last week was the hardest week of Ruby for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm stuck on the solo challenge right now, so like I guess I need to factor that into it. But as far as the assessments go, I feel like so far they've covered exactly what I expect based on the challenges from the week. So
Yeah.
it hasn't felt like, oh my gosh, they're trying to stump me. You know, it generally is like, oh, okay, cool. Like I feel relieved once I see what the assessment actually is, because I'm like, okay, I know how to do this.
Yeah. And it's like, I know, so it's interesting because for me, so the first assessment we did was untimed. You just, however long you needed to take, which was really good because I think I had clicked take the assessment. I had seen it was unlimited, but I was like, I'm just going to like look at what's on here to get a feel for it. So like my assessment time on the first one, I think is like 2 days and 4 hours. Cause like I just like at the beginning of the week, I just looked at it and I was like, all right, I'm going to go do all the challenges now. But once it got timed, the first assessment, it took me, we had 2 hours. It took me a little longer than an hour to do. But there were some people in my, I forget what you call them, like support group. Something else DBC does is they put all of the students into like groups of 5, and you check in with your groups each week, just saying like how, basically talk about your feelings, completing the work and what you're struggling with. And there was someone in my group, like they had basically hit the time limit and they hadn't quite gotten everything done. Like I think they got most of it done, and so I'm just not sure. I'm not sure how everyone's doing overall. Like, have you guys been using like the full 2 hours, or has it been just like step by step? You're kind of going through it.
Usually I take 1 hour. I think I took 1 hour, like plus our last 10 minutes on every of the timed assessments, and so far it wasn't anything too hard. Like the modules that we had across the week, there's always something that's way harder than the assessment itself. So when I go to the assessment, I'm already prepared. I'm like, this won't be harder than that. So I think that helps.
Yeah, like I feel like this week's assessment was a lot easier than the solo challenge. Like truthfully,
Yes.
and it took me half the time. The assessment this week, even with me getting stuck, I think it took me like an hour 20 minutes, and it was like I spent half an hour on one piece of one problem, but everything else, like I was just kind of like I wanted to do it right, so I was being very meticulous with how like I don't rush when I take the test. I'm just like I want to make sure I do it exactly right. But have the assessments been all right for you, Regina? I don't think we've.
Yeah.
That's like how long.
Yeah, they've been pretty good. I don't think I ever feel like I'm running out of time. I do get like test anxiety.
Yeah.
And sometimes like the solo challenges do like kind of psych me out. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so hard. And what if I fail or whatever? And so far, like knock on wood, I want to like knock on wood right now just because I'll be taking the assessment probably later today. I've done okay. I've gotten good feedback and I've been well within the time limit. I think they generally take me about like an hour, a little bit over an hour. And I think we get like 2 hours or something.
We do.
So yeah,
we do.
Not too bad.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to ask is, like, how do you guys feel about overall we've kind of been talking about pacing on a weekly setting. How do you feel about the pacing of the curriculum from like beginning to where we are now? Which I've looked ahead. I think next week is actually easier than the last 2 weeks we've been doing, other than the assessment. Like they want to give us time to study, but we might have actually climbed over the hill in a sense. But how have you felt about how they've like eased us into this whole learning process? Has it ever just seemed like it's become too much, or it just seemed like a big leap, or has it been more gradual?
Do you want to go first? I'm thinking.
Sorry. Yeah, sure. So I guess the beginning Ruby, I think the first week of Ruby was pretty straightforward for me. The second week felt kind of like a big jump from first week to second week. And then second to third week has felt pretty good. I mean, it's felt okay so far.
Yeah.
And then as far as pacing, I think everything's like, I wish that I just had more time myself to like devote to like diving into things and just kind of like solidifying my understanding to everything. And that kind of comes with like my work schedule, you know? Like,
when do classes finish up?
So this week is my last week of work, and my students are like taking exams this week.
Yeah.
So we have half days, which is awesome. So I'm like hoping that I mean, I feel like the assessment's falling at a really good time for me personally, just because I have like, you know, a lot more freedom than I generally do. So. Yeah.
What about you, Augusto?
I think the pace has been good. I mean, I was a little bit scared last week and 2 weeks ago. It was kind of too much. Like, but it was just me having to organize myself better. Like, have to time the assessments and say, okay, I can't spend like 2 days in this challenge because I have other challenges to do as well. So sometimes I just have to get things done instead of just studying each and every aspect of it as it was the only thing that I had to do in the whole week. And that's something that I had to learn. Like, I was not used to doing that. I was like, oh, okay, I want to know everything about everything, but that's not how it works, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that I learned, that sometimes that in the real world, when we're working, we won't have all the time in the world. So why would we have it when we're studying? We're already learning how to time manage like this space. So yeah, I think I'm good now.
Yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
didn't turn anything late, so it's been a good pace.
Yeah, I think the only time I've really felt like I felt like they did a good job easing us into everything. I definitely last week started feeling overwhelmed a little bit with the curriculum, but my life started getting a lot more hectic then too at the same time, like this week and last week. So I think it was both things happening at the same time. And I'm going to slip this into the conversation right now because this is not going to come up naturally in any of our topics. Just so people know, when you start phase 0, you actually start the week before phase 0 starts. It's not a lot, but I was on a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean, and I found out, like, I think, like, there was one port that had really shitty Wi-Fi, but it was better than all the other places. And I had not accounted for that, though, like having to, like, download and get my computer up to date. It's not a lot. It's just registrations. And then they were really great. The first week, which was, like, super easy, like, we did introductions. Oh, actually, that was the week before phase 0 started, right? Or was the intro session was week 1? I guess it doesn't matter.
I don't
it was
remember.
the week before.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it was
so
the week
too.
before.
I think
Yeah,
so too.
and they were, pro tip, they had like 2 sessions available, and one was like Monday afternoon, and I had a rehearsal scheduled that day for shows we were doing that night with a guest entertainer. Very hard for me to get out of. And they had one the next day, like Tuesday morning, which is when I was flying home. Because I planned it. I'm like, oh yeah, like it's flexible. So I wrote Andrew, our advisor for my group at least, and I told him that. And if you write your advisor, you can do a makeup session on the introduction. You don't have to attend, but then you won't meet the other people. I'm really lucky. I wound up being able to do the Monday session because my rehearsal got changed last minute. But I'm just putting that in there because I don't know when we would bring this up. So just expect to do a little bit before school actually starts. Like don't be in Antarctica, like with no access to the world. But yeah, like I think the last 2 weeks are the only time I felt kind of overwhelmed. But even that, the pacing was good. Like it wasn't out of nowhere. But like you said, Regina, week 2 of Ruby was a lot more intense than week 1. So I think a good closing topic for us to do here, and we've kind of been hitting on it, and this is something where like they kind of talk about it in the FAQs and they kind of don't. They're like, how many hours do you expect to work and all that. So let's not talk about hours, our respective work situations. How much do you think you can actually do outside of DBC during this whole phase 0 experience? Like, is it reasonable to have a job or have a part-time job, or should you just like sell all your worldly possessions and like be a hermit that just codes all day? Like, I think let's start with Regina because you're the one that's like actually doing something, shaping young minds and.
Oh God. Well, so realistically, I've turned everything in on time, and I've gotten good feedback on everything that I've done so far to this point from, you know, my advisor or like just the peer code reviews, or I mean just in every sense of it. So, and I'm working probably like 45 to 50 hours a week, depending on the week.
Does that include grading?
I'm sorry.
Does that include grading or like work you're doing at home? Because I know teachers often it doesn't just end at the school.
Right. Yeah, that's including. that's including all of my job obligations. So like grading or like graduation practice, just like with things that have come up in the last couple weeks. And so it might be more closer to 50 if I account for that time. That being said, like I'm extremely envious of the people who are not working right now. It wasn't really an option for me to start at the time I did and not work. So I never would want to like, you know, leave my job in the middle of the school year or anything like that. But it's been doable so far. And I think like as long as you're disciplined and you're okay with not having a social life for, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, realistically though, my social life has been, you know, meeting up with people in Austin and working on the curriculum together. So in that sense, it's been cool because I've still like gotten to be social. So lucky that people are wanting to like meet up with me and hang out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. What about you, Augusto? Like, have you, like, from what you said before, it sounds like you might not really be working outside of the curriculum right now, or are you?
So no, I mean, I work for this app called WAG that they say it's like Uber for dogs. So basically, I'm a dog walker, so it's like super chill. I can do like if I don't feel like doing it, I just don't. I just turn off the app, so it's like it's nothing. But wow, I have to say that I'm impressed. 50 hours a week, and you managed to do everything on time. That's very impressive, Regina. Wow, I didn't think it was possible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me it's been easy because I have like the most flexible schedule. But there's one thing that kind of not gets in the way, but it's kind of challenging. I'm taking Japanese classes, and it's intense. It's something that I have to dedicate a lot of study to keep up because there's
how often does class meet, or like how much are you studying for that every week?
So every Wednesday it's 3 hours class, but from home I have to study like probably 10 hours to keep up because it's a whole new writing and reading alphabet, so you have to learn everything like you were in preschool, you know, so it's very challenging. And it's sometimes, you know, I feels like I only study and I have to separate topics. I have to study coding and I have to study a new language, and sometimes it's overwhelming. But you know, compared to 50 hours work, that's nothing. So
yeah,
I don't know.
So that
does seem hard to like compartmentalize different things.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh no, I was not in the mood for studying Japanese today. I wanted to finish that thing for DBC, but I have class tonight, so I have to. So I have to just take the day off and spend all Wednesday usually working on Japanese. And I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna be late for DBC or the other way around, you know.
It's nice that your due dates are different. Like you got your Japanese stuff due on Wednesday. DBC Monday every week is when it's due.
Yeah.
You mentioned, so you're able to set your hours with WAG.
Yeah.
Like how many? It's probably been changing, but roughly like how many hours a week are you doing with that on top of all the studying?
If I take 2 walks a day, that's gonna be like 2 hours walking plus like me having to go there and everything. So I would say maximum 3 hours a day, and that's
like
not
15 hours
something.
a week.
Yeah. So that's nothing, like not anything that was gonna get me in the way, like. So it's doable.
I got you. That actually, so I mean, other than like being a professional bum since getting off the ship, I timed it great. They called me with this last contract. I hadn't even planned on doing another one, and they're like, "We just fired this guy. Can you come out and sign off whenever you want to?" So I gave them 40 days, and that was like I was signing off the day after Phase 0 started. So it was really nice timing. But I had the flu the first couple of weeks, so that took up some time, and I had a lot of wedding stuff. But for me personally, really all I've been doing is studying for DBC, like figuring out my move to Chicago and like going to the gym, which I guess like does take up a lot of my time. That sounds ridiculous for me to say. Like not just going to the gym, because I only go like every other day, but I'm one of those crazy people that like counts their calories and how much they're eating for like very specific training goals, except I'm not as dedicated as a narcissistic six-pack bro. Like it's more like I just want to get stronger, and I know like my metabolism is so fast I have to eat this many calories every day. And so like I'd say like that's probably taken up 15 hours of my week is like training stuff. And then with the music, like I've touched the horn twice basically since the curriculum started. Like usually I'm used to practicing every day, but like I'll do some piano. I might do like 30 minutes a day when I want to break. Which maybe it's one of those things where like the time grows the fill however much time you have to do it.
Yeah.
Like I'm better at getting things done when
I think
have more
so.
to do. But yeah,
You just mentioned this gym thing. So ever since Ruby started, I've been skipping gym. Just
Really?
yeah, I need to go back. I need to like plan ahead and say, okay, when it's I don't know 6 p.m., I'm gonna have to go to the gym, because if I don't plan, I just leave everything out just so I finish DBC stuff, and that's not good. Like I still have to have a schedule and
Yeah,
do
like
other things.
I mean, for me, the gym is like part of this holistic lifestyle. No, I like if I don't train, I just kind of don't feel mentally normal. I don't know how else to phrase it. It keeps me clear. It keeps me more emotionally level. Also, like so, like in terms of like getting overwhelmed. Usually, I feel more overwhelmed if I'm not going to the gym. But if I am, I feel like I'm in control of my life. Everything's good. It also helps me sleep better. So it's not just like, oh, I want to get strong. That is part of it. But for me personally, it's kind of the same thing as like getting meditation in, something like that. Everything else I do better as long as I'm keeping up with going to the gym.
Yeah.
Definitely. That fell off my plate pretty quickly once phase 0 started.
Yeah.
But I've been I'm on a 3-day workout streak right now. So yeah, like towards the end of my year, things just are finally freeing up, or time is freeing up for me. So I'm happy that I've gotten back into that at least the last couple of days.
Right on. So like we're pretty much done. We've covered the topics I want to. Is there any advice you would impart on future DBCers, whether they're just like feeling it out or if they're actually enrolled in the future cohort? Like, is there anything you wish you had done better, or you're like, this is something I did really well with phase 0? It's kind of open-ended.
I mean, I encourage anyone who is, serious about trying it out to do it regardless of your work situation. I feel like if you schedule it and you make time for it, you can definitely accomplish what's needed. That being said, like work part-time or not work at all, I think you might get more out of it than like you guys might have like a much better understanding of just Ruby in general than I do at this point. So
yeah, it's hard to say. Like I know, like one thing I'll chime in for people is and a lot of people have said this, I would suggest you start studying the languages before you start with phase 0 if you can. Because like I had gotten to do that with HTML and CSS, but because of this last minute contract I took, I was not able to do that with Ruby or JavaScript, which we'll see how that goes when we start that, I think this week actually. And SQL, like I have not. So, but even with Ruby, like the interview process for the school, I I did the old version of it. They have a new version now, I guess, because they're like, here's your Ruby crash course in case you join later, or you got in earlier, because they used to have us go on Code Academy and do like 8 of 10 items in their Ruby track. And then you did your interview. So I did all that, but that was like a year and a half ago. And maybe I learned more about Ruby because of that than like just doing their 4-hour course. But like I've found if you study stuff before you have to learn it, you'll learn it a lot faster, which maybe that sounds dumb. Maybe that's like if you learn it before you're taught it, it's great. No, but it's even if you don't understand it 100%, like learning on your own, I feel like it makes it faster to pick stuff up. So that would be my personal advice about all this. And get sleep and be regimented like Regina, like be really structured. But that's the best work I've done is when I say like I'm going to get everything done or try to the first 3 or 4 days. This is my time to do it. What about you, Augusto? Is there any
yeah, I would say don't be scared. Like if you don't have a coding background, if you don't know anything, it's gonna be the first time that you're gonna see Ruby, CSS, HTML. Like don't be scared. There are many other cohort mates that's gonna be in the same situation as you, and it's
including all 3 of us.
Yeah,
none of us have
exactly.
Other than like maybe.
And everybody's learning something new. Like maybe you're gonna find out something that someone else that had previous knowledge on that matter didn't know, and that's awesome. Like everybody's learning together, and it's all about how well you manage your time in studying. So I guess that's my advice. Like don't be scared. Like I was scared. That's why I'm saying that. I thought it was gonna be something. Wow, why am I even doing this? Like, am I that desperate? Like, but
I have like general existential dread about everything. This has started. Like, am I going to find a job? Okay, fine, I'll get a job, but am I actually going to like coding, even though I like it right now? Am I going to like the city I live in? Like, where I get like it's all this stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to thank both of you so much for giving up an hour of your time during the craziest portion of Phase 0 just to talk with us about your experiences. Is there anything you guys want to add real quick, or pretty much good? All right, future viewers that hypothetically exist. Thanks for tuning in. We'll keep doing broadcasts, and hopefully both of you will want to come back at some point, but we'll also bring other people in so you can get a feel for like the many different walks of life coming in the DBC. So, hey, y'all have a great Sunday.
Thank you.
You too.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.